Commerce Secretary, Lutnik, appeared on a podcast and made a statement about Social Security, which was bizarre. And it speaks to, now you understand Lutnik's a billionaire, okay? And it speaks to how these billionaires maybe lose track of those who need Social Security. Do you have the little clip, Tony? This is essentially what was said.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She thinks something got messed up, and she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining. And if all the guys who did PayPal, like Elon knows this by heart, right? Anybody who's been in the payment system and the process system knows the easiest way to find the fraudster is to stop payments and listen.
Yeah.
Because whoever screams is the one stealing.
That's so ridiculous. I don't even know what to say about that.
You know who screams the loudest? The people who can't pay their rent or feed themselves.
The people who need the money, of course. It's so absurdist. But again, it speaks to the silo that he operates in. There's one other, before I get to Gary Dietrich.
His grandmother wouldn't call because he's going to pay her rent.
Right. She doesn't need the money.
I mean, she's got billionaires in her family. She's okay.
And by the way, as I've mentioned before,
struggling. Of course, people are going to call if their check doesn't come. That's the most asinine thing I've ever heard. He's living on another planet. Social
Security also is one of the most efficient, if not the most efficient, agency in Washington. It's extraordinary that they're going after it the way they are, except for the fact, you have to keep in mind, that they've wanted to privatize Social Security for decades now, and they may actually do it under this presidency. One other quick cut before I get to Gary Dietrich, as long as we're on Lutnik. Can you play me Lutnik talking about inflation? Because, of course, he explains it totally wrong. Go ahead.
Stories that have fun with that, but
just address the pricing inflation that arises from tariffs. Talk to the average person who says the cost of a toy at Walmart just went up by 50%.
Okay. Inflation comes from printing more money. Okay, let's say the United States of America had $1 trillion. That's all we had. That's it. No more. Okay, and I want to buy a bottle of water and you want to buy a bottle of water. One came from America and the other one came from Fiji, right? And I tariff Fiji. Then that water is $1.25 and this water is $1. Yeah. That's not inflation. That means that one's more expensive. But I can choose to buy this one.
Right.
Okay, so you're right. This toy might be more expensive and that toy's not. I get it, but that's not inflation. No. Here's inflation. Snap my fingers, now we have $2 trillion, right? That water's $1.50, that water's $1.25. Yeah, everything's more expensive.
That's inflation.
Okay, so inflation without tariffs is everything's $1.25.
Now what
inflation with tariffs is $1.25, right? And $1.50. And so you have to understand inflation doesn't come from tariffs. Certain products. This is complete. If I put a tariff.
Stop, because I want to wrap up and I want to get to Gary Dietrich. But let me just, I'll use his example. When you buy a bottle of water from a Fiji water and it's being tariffed, it'll cost, I'll use his, again, metric, $1.50, okay? And then domestic water, we'll say, is only $1. All right. And that continues because of the tariff that's been imposed on Fiji. And so the domestic producers of water, bottled water, they don't have to live with that tariff. But the domestic producers of water notice what? They notice that all the import water that they're competing against is what? More expensive. So what can they do safely? They can make their bottle $1.25. And that, my friends, is how tariffs influence markets, and that is how inflation is fueled by tariffs. It's exactly that way. These protectionist policies don't work in the way that Lutnik's explaining. And so I was astounded. I think he's probably a brilliant guy. He's very endearing, charming, tells stories and all this stuff, but he's full of it. He's completely full of it. And he's, on some level, I think he knows that it's BS that he's shoveling, because this is such basic stuff. But This is to be continued.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.